Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are currently live on LinkedIn, and I'm super excited for the session today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Suja Harish. I'm the founder and managing director of Sigma Intelligence and Talent Hub. We mainly focus on people development, mindset shift, and HR consulting services. We are known for our trademark service, the Sigma Support Loop, which focuses on supporting individuals and organizations apply learning onto their core work. You can call us your transformational catalyst or your accountability partner. Now, as a part of this transformational journey, I really wanted to bring value and talk about a topic which is the need of the hour: career development. And if you're someone who is looking for your next career move, or you want to get a promotion, or simply need clarity on what next, then I can guarantee you are in the right place today. Now, before we begin, let me tell you one thing about career. Building the career you deserve requires more than just experience. It requires intention, strategy, and the right mindset. Now, I'm really super thrilled to introduce someone who is going to provide us with that clarity. Allow me to introduce our guest expert for today's session, Srijit G, a seasoned learning and development consultant. He's based in India with over 25 years of rich hands on experience in transforming careers and building learning culture across organizations. Now, Srijit really brings a rare combination of certifications, frameworks, real world expertise that makes him uniquely equipped to guide you on your career development journey today. I also would want to tell few accreditations he's got. He's a certified master trainer. He holds a leadership essential credential from the Indian School of Business. He's a certified NLP practitioner and, of course, a DISC certified people profile analyst. And he has worked with some of the most remarkable organizations across industries like Dell, Pearson Education, Alliance, Symphony Group of Companies, and Dentsu Media. I'm sure this gives him a 360-degree view of what organizations truly look for and how professionals can position themselves powerfully. He has not only worked with entry level associates, but he's worked with senior management, he's worked with startups, he's worked with MNCs, and of course, government bodies like Ministry of Defense in New Delhi, India. And knowing him personally, I can tell you he has a unique ability to blend storytelling, NLP techniques, and globally recognized development frameworks to create meaningful, lasting change in people he works with. Without further ado, let me please welcome Srijit.
Hi, hello everyone. Good evening, wherever you are. I'm based in India, and to the people from GCC who are attending this session, a warm welcome to the session. Good evening. Thank you so much, Suja. Too many
Thank you.
words of praise. I thought you'll keep it a
I,
little short.
I definitely had to. There's a lot, of course, due to the time constraint. I've just, synchronized it. Now, of course, this session, the way we are planning to run, Srijit, is I have a lot of questions. There were a few questions that I actually got it through the participants and the audience earlier. They were very keen the moment I placed the topic as such. So I have curated few questions. However, I would love for you to share your real-time examples while you are answering that. But I think it starts with the curiosity that in your profile it says you've been working for 25 years and you are like an L&D veteran. So what really inspired you to build a career in learning and development, and how has this path really evolved in these 25 years?
Okay, I think I would say my career actually started with curiosity. I was never keen on training as such. But one thing that fascinated me, or one question that I had in my mind, was that why is it that two equally intelligent people produce completely different results or performance? I think over the years, I have realized that success isn't just about technical skills or hardcore knowledge. It's about the behavior. It's about communication. It's about how you make your decisions. How adaptable are you? And the leadership qualities that you have. That's what differentiates each individual. And that's one of the reasons why I got into learning and development. It used to be learning and development only for individuals, but over the last, say, 10, 15 years, I've also been doing learning and organizational development, which is not just focusing on one individual, but an entire business
Hmm.
and how the culture or the behavior of the organization or the employees can be changed in alignment with the business goals. So that's my experience for you. And
That's fantastic.
I've also had the privilege of helping thousands of professionals unlock their potential, which they didn't know they had in them.
Absolutely. And I think that's the reason why I really want to hear from you. Um, I mean, many questions related to how did you discover few aspects when it comes to assessments and all. But I have a curious question with regards to AI. Of course, you would have heard every now and then people saying that is AI going to take over our job, and so we are living in an era of AI. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask is, in your view, what are the biggest career development gap professionals face today, especially with AI?
Okay, I think AI has created havoc in the last few months. We all know. Most people think that AI is going to replace our jobs. Well, it isn't. Let's look a few years back when the calculators were invented. Did the mathematics teachers lose their job? No. When Microsoft Excel came into existence, did the accountants, the people who were accountants or chartered accountants, did they lose their job? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
And I've interacted, or I still keep interacting with people. For example, recently one of my ex colleagues friend who works for a medical backend insurance claims processing company, and he
Hmm.
said most of the processes in our organization has already been taken over by AI.
Hmm.
However, there are a lot of people who have still not lost their jobs because he is absolutely confident and he says there are many things which AI cannot do still, and it's going to take quite a while before AI can reach there. There is human intervention required in a lot of areas. So I would
Hmm.
say the biggest learning gap for today, point number one, if I may have the permission to say this, I think most of us look at our careers as a job.
Hmm.
Now, that shift of mindset is what we all need first. What's the mindset shift that I would suggest people to follow? Look at your career as a startup organization of your own and consider yourself the chief executive officer of your startup. That changes things completely, right?
Hmm.
So I would say today the biggest learning gaps that people have, one, the speed of learning. I think that's something which we need to really, really work on. With so many resources that are available over the internet, I mean, you have multiple options to choose from. So there is a certain necessity for us to learn something not just for today or tomorrow, keep learning as many new things. Secondly, adaptability. How comfortable are we or how flexible are we in adapting ourselves or flexing ourselves based on the job requirement or the environment or the market? Okay, critical thinking is another area. I would specifically want to mention one of the recent experiences that I went through. I was approached by one of the organizations to train their senior management team members, people with 18 to 20 years of experience. And
Hmm.
it was a workshop for over a period of 12 weeks or 4 months. And when I gave them, because 18 to 20 years of experience, and I gave them a case study from their own industry to do critical thinking. And guess what? Even after giving them 2 hours, they couldn't do critical thinking, or they couldn't come up with solutions or even identify the main problems. So
Mm.
I see critical thinking as one of the biggest gaps as of today, right? Communication skill for that matter. In one of the interview panels where I was part of the panel, after the interview of a candidate, this was for a technical role, hardcore technical role. I was fairly convinced with the candidate, but one of the panel members said, I wouldn't hire this person. And I was surprised, not just me, but the other panel members. There were four of us. The other three people were surprised. And he said, the only reason why I wouldn't hire this person, even if this person is highly technically qualified, is because when we asked him the question of what's your passion, he said, I love cooking. And then we asked him, what is your favorite dish? He said the name of the dish. I don't want to disclose the name here. And then we asked, so can you quickly tell us how do you prepare that dish? And he was unable to say so. So the panel member, he was a senior panel member, and he said, we need people who are passionate and also those people who can articulate or speak about their passion. And ultimately, the candidate was rejected.
Mm.
Another area which I can think of is presentation skills. How many of us, with even 15, 20 years of experience, are comfortable standing in front of an audience to present something, right? Influence. How do we are we able to influence people? So these are some of the areas which I would say are the gaps that we can fix. Don't worry about AI. Rather, consider AI to be your friend. For example, in most of the job searching, cases, you can tweak your CVs very well and quickly, and maybe more accurately than you would yourself do it manually with the help of AI. So consider AI your friend and not an enemy.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I couldn't really agree more to whatever you said, especially with regards to communication or presentation. Sometimes these are skills that are really, I guess, underrated. People just take it for granted. So thank you so much for those valuable insights. I
My
have a
pleasure.
quick question. Yeah, I had a quick question with regards to your profile. So I was going through your profile, and it did say that you use a lot of assessment tools. There are frameworks that you work on. How did you personally discover the power of these assessment tools, and how has it shaped the way you coach people?
I think if I have to take us back maybe a few years, say 10, 12, 13 years ago,
Mm,
I used to be doing the same old method that most of us still follow, or majority of the population follows, which is do a SWOT analysis, strength,
mm,
weakness, opportunities, threat. And that will show you everything about what your strengths are, what your limitations are, what you have to work on. But the
mm,
biggest problem or challenge with that is how do you control the biases? How do you control your assumptions? Our brains are designed to always think something that is easy and pleasurable for us. We would never look at certain areas which we might be uncomfortable to jot it down on a paper. And when I experienced the first assessment myself, I was flabbergasted. That's a word I would use. Because because till then, I used to think that I am doing the best diagnosis of myself and the people who are working with me. It is just like if you have a common cold, or let's say you have a sore throat,
mm,
instead of diagnosing it further, maybe it is the beginning of something big. God forbid that happens to anybody. And you just take it as a sore throat and then take a normal medication or medicine that you get in the medical store. It could be dangerous. It's the same thing with career. When
mm,
we do our own assumptions and jot it down using SWOT methods or any other methods, right? We still have a lot of areas that are hidden. For example, I would say, why do we prescribe assessments is because one, it's quite quick and time saving, right?
Mm,
You'll be able to identify and pinpoint the hidden areas which we might miss out on. Okay.
mm,
For example, things like your behavioral preferences, your communication styles, your motivators, your limiters, right? Your strengths, your blind spots, all of these can be quickly revealed through an assessment. And trust me, it saves us a lot of guesswork. And
mm,
that's why I trust some of the assessments, not all the assessments, but mainly some psychometric assessments, which maybe I can, if given an opportunity, I'll share a glimpse of it towards the end of the session. Right? So most people think that we know about ourselves, but
mm.
mostly we only know what our intentions are. But the assessments reveal the patterns in our intentions. That's something which we cannot do it on our own manually.
Absolutely, and that's so fascinating to know. There these are different tools, and of course, SWOT is something that is a go-to for anyone to do. And I love the fact that you defined the biases that we would have towards this assessment. And that actually brings me to one more curious question. Of course, you would have done a lot of assessment. You would have seen a lot of profiles as well, right? So, can you actually shed some light on the profiles of people who are looking for job or are looking for a change in their career? What does it look like?
Now, if I can think correctly, the kind of profiles that I get, one, or what we usually see, one is a performer. When you interact with that person, he or she says that I have been working hard, tirelessly for many years, but nobody knows. There is very less of visibility.
True.
I would call them the top performers, but they don't have a visibility beyond. I mean, if you ask them, do you think your senior management knows what you're doing? How many of them know it? And they just blink and think, right? So that's the first type of profile. The second type of profile, which I can see, is someone who is a comfort seeker. That is, the moment they get a job, maybe I wouldn't say that they're governed by the old traditional beliefs where, some 15, 20, 25 years ago, there were not too many opportunities. And our parents and elders who were working at that time, they worked their entire working years in one organization. Some of the current, what do you call, generation folks also kind of get into something that I can call, let's say, complacency kicks in the moment they get a job.
Mm,
They are excellent employees, but they actually stop learning once they get into the complacency zone. So
mm,
they are comfort seekers, right? They don't want to kind of try anything new. Then there is this particular category, which I would say people who are really busy, very busy, right? Always occupied, but
mm,
absolutely no clue what they want to do in the next 5 years. If you ask them this question, well, I haven't thought about it, is what they
mm,
say. I'm too busy, right? They're happy keeping themselves busy. So I would call the busy folks, right? And also the confused ones who keep jumping, hopping from one job to another job, thinking this new job will fix my problem. But that also doesn't fix, right? So so this is about the different types of profiles. Now, if I have to touch upon the CV, the first step in terms of getting a job, that is, I'm not talking about planning your career, but once you apply for a job, what is the first thing that gets you selected? It is your CV, right? Many a times we see that the CVs have just a generic objective or a summary line, especially people who are just out of college. So
mm,
when we conduct interviews, mass, hiring drives, we see that a lot of people come from the same college or same institution, and we are immediately able to connect the moment we look at the objective. All the objectives are copy pasted from someone else. So I think the first thing is your intent or your individuality is known by how personalized your objective or the career summary is. So don't copy paste anything from anywhere. Even if you use AI, please, my humble suggestion is take some time to type in your own career objective. Secondly, in the skills section, when you look at, a lot of people have this tendency to mention excellent communication skills as one of the skills strengths. Now, communication skills is understandable. What is excellent communication skills? If you know of the communication parameters and the standards, the common European framework of reference CEFR, you should either be a C1 or a C2, isn't it? If when you mention excellent communication skills. Now, the same person, when you ask a question, tell us a story about one of your past vacations or something, and the person almost starts searching for words. Is that excellent communication skills? In the same way, people with experience, they mention something as dumb as strong leadership skills. Now, if you mention strong leadership skills, do you really have at least two or three instances or examples that you can share where it was really challenging for you and you came out strong? If you don't have any examples or instances from the past, right? Let me also tell you, nowadays the interviewers have become really smart, at least in the last 5 years or so. I have been on both sides. I've been an interviewee where I attended interviews, I've coached people, and I've also been on the other side where recently it was a 7 month long association that I had an assignment with one of the organizations where they wanted to upskill or rather, get their hiring managers to the best possible level, because I think in the past they couldn't hire good quality people because of which the company was suffering. Okay, it is an Indian company. They have few other units in uh, US and a couple of other places. So I had this opportunity to train and certify close to 200 plus AGMs, that is, associate general managers, deputy general managers, and managers. All of them, I had to conduct multiple workshops for them on how they can change their hiring or recruitment style. What I found mostly was that most of them, so the traditional way of asking questions, so what have you been doing in the last, so tell me something about yourself, or when did you work, or what kind of work have you done on your, on this particular technical skill or area in your college project or in your past work experience. That's not how the questions are asked now. The questions are more rephrased to check the behavior of the person and not exactly what the skill is, because I think the industry has come to an understanding now. Industry has become smart. There used to be a saying, I think Infosys heads of multiple organizations said, even Tata, for that matter, JRD Tata and Ratan Tata, always hire somebody who is better than you, not dumber than you. I think that's now kicking in. People are always looking for somebody who has that X factor. If there is a job position that's available and if they have four or five candidates, they would only go with somebody who is special, not the average person, right? So that's the answer to your question. There are quite a lot of other things which I have put in the post session ready reckoner bonus book that I have created. I've added all those areas that people can read through.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shredath. And again, for the participants or the audience who is listening right now, as Srijit mentioned, towards the end of the session, we will be sharing this ready reckoner that he's specially, customized it for today's discussion. There's a lot of guidelines. There's a lot of GPS that he's put in there. So we will be sharing that as well. Now, it's very fascinating to hear, the insights that you're sharing. And, I just thought about it. So obviously, as a coach myself, there's a lot of question that's been asked to me in terms of, do we really need a coach, especially a career development coach? Is there a requirement of a coach?
Can I be honest with you? Absolutely not. We don't need a coach. But then the question that we must ask ourselves is, do you think the Olympic athletes or the sports people like Virat Kohli, Tendulkars of the world, they were already at the top of their games, right? They were like considered as goats, yeah, greatest of all times. Did they have coaches? Answer is yes. What do you think about the CEOs of multiple organizations? They make it a point to have a coach or a mentor. Why do you think they do it? And even the most famous actors around the world, they do have coaches. So why not us?
Well,
Do you know the reason why we need coaches? Because there is something which we call Johari window, right? Where some of the things we can see for ourselves, right? But there are some hidden talents. For example, I didn't know that I was good at presenting in front of an audience unless a third person told me that, hey, you're really good at presenting. I was like, don't bluff, right? But then that's how it is. That's how a relationship with a coach is. The
mm,
areas that you cannot see, the little nudges that you need at the right time, or even the hidden, you know, qualities or traits, or sometimes it could be a hidden threat. You never
mm,
know. So, a coach, so you can always manage without a coach, right? Or you can have a coach. The coach will act as a catalyst. Please understand, coaches don't get you jobs. Okay, coaches don't create new talents or skills in you, but coaches help you identify that potential and give you the right medication which will help you to become consistent, right? And once it becomes consistent in your behavior is when the world also sees. For example, I can give you certain examples. 22 years old, 22 years plus of experience, this gentleman I'm talking about, he was considered, or he is considered, one of the topmost subject matter, the expert in the organization, in the industry.
mm,
But the problem this gentleman faced, because of which we connected, is that he said, I am considered the expert. People come, I'm a consultant. But whenever I state my ideas in front of my counterparts from US, or from mostly from Europe, Denmark, Netherlands, and UK, they don't take him seriously. And he really felt the pain after a few years of the same thing happening. Once we connected, he said, I'm doing everything right. I don't see any reason why, or where I have a shortfall. But guess what? After the assessment and the analysis of the person's profile, it was very clear. And he also finally agreed that yes, this is one of the areas. This could be one of the areas. Still, he had a difficulty in accepting the fact.
mm,
So the only choice that we had was, let's assume that this is not a problem at all, but why don't we change our mindset and bring some tweaks in our behavior. For example, his biggest challenge was that he would say the most interesting thing or the wisest thing, and he wouldn't smile. When I asked him why, he said, I think this is just a fact. Why should I smile? Are you supposed to show your emotions? I said, My friend, let's try it differently. Start smiling going forward, and start doing. He also had trouble with, lack of ability of uh, small talks. He was really bad at small talks. He said he thought, I think it was a waste of time. After a few days, after a few weeks, I would say 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks of practicing on it, he asked for feedback from others, and others were like, "What happened to you? You look a lot more saner and normal now. Why weren't you like this all these years?" Okay, that's when he realized, right? So I just give you one critical example here. You
Hmm.
might not get to see what's wrong with you until an external face or an expert comes and easily identifies it for you. So
Absolutely
the choice is yours.
fantastic.
You can manage without a coach.
Well, that's fantastic. I absolutely love listening to the stories and the examples that, of course, the realistic examples that you're sharing. And it's so much we're able to relate to with our work as well. Of course, it's half an hour. The time has just flown by, and I have few core questions that I really wanted to ask. How do you know whether the person requires a skill building or it's behavioral coaching? Because just one of the examples that you said, it was more about a behavioral change, right? So how do you really determine and assess whether it's skill building or is it behavior or it is a broader career reset? How do you really assess that?
So I do a three-level diagnosis to determine, you know, the whether what the person needs. Level
Hmm.
one is knowledge gap for a particular job role, or if the person is already in a particular job role. Is it, if the person says, I don't know, well, training is the best fix to solve this problem. Now, the second level, the first level is the knowledge gap. The second level is skills gap, right? I haven't invented something which is rocket science. The whole world talks about knowledge, skills, and attitude. I think those should remain. Those three pillars should remain. So level one is the knowledge gap. The second gap that I look at is skill gap, right? Where the person says, I know, but I can't or I am unable to do it. Maybe it is lack of practice, correct? So that's skill gap. And the third level is the behavioral gap, which is I know it, I can do it, but I still don't do it. Yeah, so this is typically, so for this, coaching is the best solution. Mostly coaching is associated or attributed to fixing behavioral gaps. However, in many cases where people don't know if there are knowledge gaps or skill gaps, there are cases where people are not aware. For example, in, let's say, a newly promoted manager, right? I can also give you an example of a fresher who just passed out of college and joined one of the top three MNCs in the world. This gentleman said, well, I am pakka with my technical skills, and I know within 1 or 2 years I'll get promoted. If they don't give me promotion, I will look for another job. This was the typical, attitude. Now, the person thought that he knew everything about technology, and I had, this was in 2018 when I told him that your technical skills will only help you clear the interview and get into the company. From there, your growth in the next 5, 6, 10 years is all soft skills or softer skills like interpersonal skills, communication skills, influencing skills, your negotiation skills, decision making skills. All these are the ones that will help you grow. He didn't take the advice then. I just said it for the sake of it. Apparently, around 1.5 months ago, after so many years, he messages me, I am in a senior manager role right now. And now I realize what you said these many years ago. Yes, it is absolutely softer skills. I should have taken coaching from you then, maybe I wouldn't have taken this many years to reach here. Maybe I would have reached a little earlier, right?
Excellent.
So that's my answer to the question, how I do
Lo-
the diagnosis.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you
Mostly,
so much for, yeah.
just wanted to add, mostly it is not that people are not talented.
Mm.
It is just that they don't really know. They don't see all the sides. And that's where a coach helps.
That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, I like the way how comprehensive you made it with the detailed examples and all. I did see that you have worked with corporate startups and many other industries, right? So how does career development differ in all these sectors? Is it the same, or it has? I mean, have you been able to notice something different?
I think it's quite an important question. Thank you for asking this. We should know what each industry, how each industry functions, and what are the motivators. For example, I would say corporates will reward employees only for consistency, consistent performer. That's the style of corporate, because already the rules are set, right? All you have to do is consistently perform. So that's a style of corporate, sector. If you look at startups, startups are actually looking for versatility. They might hire you for a sales job or to get the business development done, but they would appreciate and they would actually hold on tight onto you if you also can apply yourself. And guess what? One of the examples, maybe I just want people to think right now, think big. While the whole world is chasing corporate organizations or MNCs, there are people whom I know who have made a big fortune working for startups where nobody else took interest. You know how? The startup ecosystem is really interesting if you pay more attention or closer attention. Startups don't hire you as an employee. Startup always hires you as a partner,
Mm.
as a partner, and they reward you quickly. How quickly you can bring in new things, or creativity, or outcomes, the more they reward you. They want not an employee, they want a partner, a business partner. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
One of my own examples, in 2022, I had joined a startup organization, and within 4 months, the package or the remuneration, along with that, they rewarded me with an ESOP, which was almost close to my compensation for the whole year.
Wow.
And trust me, these employee stock options that they offer you is to gain your trust and to also give you the belief that yes, we value you. Now you perform better. But the only problem with startups is you have to be on the call 24 bar 7. I'm not joking. Right? You have to be on the call 24 bar 7. But the rewards are really great if you stick to a startup organization for long. Yeah.
Excellent.
Consulting sector, if you want to join consulting sector and make a career, I think you must understand that consulting sector mainly works on influence. How influential are you? If you're really influential in the market with very good networking skills, then I think you are in the right place. Entrepreneurship, it is obviously one of the most difficult, but the most interesting for some people who have high adrenaline rush, right? Entrepreneurship rewards people who can manage tolerance during uncertainty. Okay. And the biggest mistake, that's why I said this question is really important, is because when a person during the course of his or her career changes from a corporate to a startup, they try to use the same formula
Yes.
in the other environment, and it becomes a big mess. and a big failure. So always understand which industry you want to join, what is the main reward or motivation there, what is the expectation of that industry, and then take a decision whether you want to jump in there. But when you jump in there, be aware that you are in alignment with the expectation and the motivation of that industry. That's it. That's it.
Excellent, excellent. Because I think, when you're speaking about different sectors, majority of the people, we have this mindset that we have our experience, we're just going to take the same experience, same approach, and just, join without even understanding what is the culture of the organization, whether it's a startup or whether it's a corporate, right? And I think that really answers my next question. It speaks about how employees make these common mistakes while growing in their career. So I want to ask you about the tools because I understand the time as well. So how do you think the tools and frameworks that you use improve career development outcomes, and how can these help someone who is going through a career transition or considering a complete change?
I think one thing that I have to mention here, some of the mistakes that people make. One, people who are already in a job, they're just waiting for promotions.
Hmm.
Why don't you understand that, like you're, if you're just getting an increment every year, but no growth, then I think there is a timeline, say 2 to 3 years. If you see there is no growth, when I say growth, not vertical promotions, but even lateral movements are considered as opportunity to learn and maybe add more skills to your portfolio, right? Thinking hard work is enough, and they will, don't know, some people think that I leave the rest to God. I am doing hard work, he will help me. Yes, God helps those people who help themselves. I think hard work alone is not sufficient, right? You have to think differently. Ignoring networking, thinking that my job doesn't require me to network with people. I am an individual contributor and I shouldn't be networking with people. That is the biggest myth or the mistake that people make. I think a lot of us know that in this industry, whenever you want to change organizations, change companies, or change your job role, or take up a new job role, you can do an organic search, apply, and may or may not get through. But most people who are smart enough and really, really did their homework on networking, they get through to some jobs quickly with the help of referrals. When people refer you, right, that's where networking comes in. You're also creating a brand value or brand image in front of people, right? You might not expect the person to help you, but whenever there is an apt opportunity, and this person with whom you discuss a few years ago that you do these, and if that person says, hey, I know a person, and if that person can recommend you, I think it's like a jackpot, isn't it? Without asking, you get help. Okay. And a lot of people think that it is not my job to ask for feedback, whether it be new people. Yeah, I've seen a lot of, the current generation folks, the, Gen Zs and Generation Alphas. Yeah, they're pretty good with asking for feedback. But then it's a good thing when you do right at the beginning of your career. But after a year or two, they stop doing it. Why? You need to constantly ask for feedback. And I always believe in this one sentence: only crying babies get milk. Nobody in the world has the time to come to you and give you feedback, saying that, hey, are you free? I was thinking of giving feedback to you. Come, let's. No. You have to ask for feedback. Otherwise, how would you do? How would you know whether you're improving or not? Correct? Somebody has to tell you, a third person has to tell you. And when you ask for feedback, always ask someone who has authority and who you think is matured enough to give you feedback. Don't ask feedback from somebody who is maybe your peer and not so matured. Maybe that person say, you're really bad at this, and that's all. That becomes a reason for motivation. This is for the younger generation, I'm saying. So that's one. And learning. learning only what's required today. For example, I know a lot of people who only learn or get some new certifications from their current organization only because the organization has set a mandate that you need to at least complete three certifications in a calendar year for you to be eligible for the appraisal. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing that the organization is prompting people or there is a mandate, but ideally it should come from within. You should keep learning something new, especially in this era of AI. You have to always understand this: your employer owns your job, but you own your career.
Wow. Wow. I mean, of course, that example did hurt me as well because when I reach out to organization, when I speak to people, they don't understand the need of learning, just self-development. And that's definitely a valid point. As we're coming close to the end of our discussion, I wanted to
Mhm.
ask a very funny question. So, if someone has just realized, because I just received the question, and they're saying that if they just realize that they are in a wrong career and are looking at starting their journey today, right? What are your thoughts and recommendations?
Okay, so I think in the career, when you look at the career, right, there are no end goals or there are no final destinations. It's a journey. And way back when I was working with Dell, such a wonderful organization, right? I had a close friend whom I knew even before I joined Dell. Later on, he became my colleague. He joined Dell 1.5 years after me.
Hmm.
Everything was going on fine. Somehow this person already had very smart, antennas, and he thought, this is not for me. Yeah, BPO tech support, this is not for me. And one fine day he resigned without another job offer. That's something we were like, are you crazy? Have you gone mad? He said, no, I want to change my career. This is after full 2 years of work experience. He quit his job and he went to, a small time training agencies, training institutes to enroll for software testing course. He went through that course for 4 months, all funded by himself, and he was still without a job. And after, say, close to 8 9 months, close to a year, he got into IBM. And since then, he started as a fresher, along with the college pass out freshers who joined IBM at that time. He joined along with them in one of those batches, and he restarted his career.
Hmm.
And today, I think if I look back, that was the best or the smartest decision that he took. He is right now in Atlanta working for one of the top three global financial giants, and he's in a very powerful position, right?
Excellent.
So what I mean from this is, if at any given point in time you think this is not the career I want, I think please go through the book that I have created, some of the steps that you can take before you choose a career. Ask those questions to yourself and be brutally honest when you respond to them, not just for your, the instant gratification or for your convenience. Brutally honest, brutally, would say, I mean, absolutely be cutthroat.
Hmm.
Answer those questions, and then if all the answers align to this is not my career path, then it is okay to change.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
quite motivating, especially for people who are looking at changing their career, to see that, there is never, I mean, of course, mistakes are the way that you learn and, you grow in, in your.
absolutely. Maybe if I can add a couple of examples, during the during the COVID times is when we saw maximum people taking a U-turn. I will say U-turn from the current career. Maximum people took a U-turn, and guess what? I know a few of them. One of them was working in a respectable corporate, role and position. high paid job. This person, she quit her job and she started selling saris, the Indian traditional wear. And today, they are, I think, making a fortune which they would have never thought of if they continued to work. Husband and wife, both of them quit, and they are running this business right now, quite
Mm,
successful, right? So there is never a wrong time for a U-turn.
mm,
Maybe that's a calling that you get, isn't it? If you think some of the parameters that I've mentioned in the bonus book, the book name is Career GPS. We all know what GPS is. So, Career GPS, go through those questions, align your answers. If you think the answers are against, answers are in favor of changing the career, don't think, take a
great.
U turn. But do your homework well before you take a U turn.
Great, great, great. So my last question, because we are closing down another 10 minutes, is what is that one immediate action our audience can take today to better understand their own career strengths?
I think there are multiple things that they can do. One is, as I mentioned some time ago, the traditional strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, the SWOT analysis. However, there is always a complexity. There's always this, uh, possibility, high possibility of you not getting the exact strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats.
Mm,
I would strongly recommend if you're really, really serious about to know your styles and patterns, I think you should go for a highly trusted assessment, which will be a one-time investment, a small investment, not much, but it will throw lights on a lot of areas which you might have been ignoring for decades if you are an experienced person. If you are a fresher, great. You might get to know first-hand information right at the beginning, right? Like they say in the investment market industry, the earlier you start with your investment, the bigger corpus you can create. That's the same effect you can see. I would say choose a good assessment or mainly psychometric assessment, which will throw a lot of light on your entire profile. And further, if you need a coach, get help from a coach. Yeah.
great.
Or if you don't want to, you can always use the organic trial and error method.
Mm,
It's up to you.
great, great. Well, I mean, these were just, I know that I had a lot more to ask, and probably we can do another session similar to this to address the questions. I would be posting a link on the comment section which talks about feedback to get more from the participants. Srijit, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, the insights that you have shared. 1 hour is definitely not enough for us to go through every aspect of it. Would you want to say a few last words before we close the live stream?
Um, if you give me a permission, maybe can I quickly show you something that I wanted to kind of show?
Oh yes, please, would love to.
Yeah, if you can give me the permission to share my screen. I don't know if I
Yep.
have the permission to. I think this is something which people would really love to. Computer. Okay, upload file. Just a minute. Career GPS. Where have I shared this PPT? This PPT is presentation one. Okay, save it on the. Let me quickly share this. I think it's asking me to upload it onto the.
Okay, all right.
I'll just do that. It's
So
not
while you're
issue.
doing that, of course, for the participants to know that we will be running these sessions more, and I'm actually more than happy to let the participants know that we have collaborated with Srijit to work on career development related services. So if you are keen to know a little bit more on how to work around your career development, if you're looking at coaching, if you're looking at understanding the assessments, we're more than happy to connect with you. You can connect on Sigma Intel Hub, or you can reach out to Suja Harish or Srijit directly on LinkedIn to further explore your career opportunity. We are more than happy to assist you.
Perfect. Thank you. I think I have provided with my details on the last page of the bonus book, the Career GPS book. Now, what I wanted to quickly take us all through is that this is something which is very important. You don't get to hear it every day. I think we all have different behavioral styles, and at different places, we use different masks. You know, as you can see, every one of us has a natural mask, which is away from work, outside in your normal life, home with your friends. That's a natural mask of how your behavior style appears in front of them. But the moment you enter the workplace, you put on something known as the work mask. Your behaviors completely change. I have seen from my past experience as well, even before I became a people profile analyst, few of my bosses who were really tough at work, but whenever we met outside of work or when they invited us to their homes, we were shocked. Oh my God, is it a different person altogether? So that's why we say there is a work mask that we all put on when we reach the workplace. And finally, there is another mask, which is the pressure mask that comes out only when you are in difficult situations, crisis situations. That's when your true pressure behavior comes out. So, why I'm talking about this is because, can you see, this is the assessment result of one of the assessment that I'm subscribed to and I trust. It shows your pattern or behavior in all of these three masks. And trust me, this is exactly why we know many organizations also use these assessments before hiring people for critical levels. Why? Because if there is a danger signal that's seen in under pressure behavior, or in the if there is a big variation, then I think the person can be dropped instead of taking the risk of hiring the person. So
Hmm.
why, if people who are searching for jobs, if they go through this assessment, it is just not the graph. Graph is just a small part of it. I usually prefer any assessment which has a lot of credibility. As you can see, this or any of the assessment vendors whom I choose, I mainly look at a lot of credibility. There are multiple assessments, job assessments, people profile analysis assessment, even general aptitude assessments. All of these are psychometric assessments. Some of them might not be. And for especially experienced people, the 360-degree, that is an amazing assessment which talks about, which kind of, you can compare it with your horoscope. That's how detailed uh, the assessment is. And the multiple reports that you can get from these assessments, this is the power. This is the power. Now, if you look at these reports, there are some of these reports which are sent to organizations also. For example, talent selection, onboarding report. So the organizations already know a lot about people than you visit them, right? So this is something which I wanted to share with all of us. Ultimately, I would certainly say, stop looking at your career as a job or an employment. Start looking at it as your startup business. As a chief executive officer, what are we doing? On that note, I would hand it over to Suja. It was a pleasure being with you, and I'll hope to hear some questions from others.
Lovely, lovely. Of course, we have exhausted the time as of now, but honestly, it had been my pleasure. And of course, for the audience, for these wonderful insights. And of course, there's a lot that I'm taking away personally. For those who have stayed back with us, we are going to be sharing a link on the comment section of this LinkedIn Live. Please access that, share your details, and we'll be more than happy to give the career GPS that is created by Srijit ji. Srijit, we are looking forward for more sessions from you. Till then, take care of yourself. Bye now.
It'll be my pleasure, and I'm always happy to be associated with you because you are already into. I'm saying, I would say you do a lot of this. Um, the services that you offer, I see a lot of nobility. It's a noble profession that you are in, and I'm
Thank
more than happy to just, you know,
thank you.
hold hands and walk.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Yeah. Bye bye. Bye everyone. All the best with your careers.